The circumstances of our conversation are terrible. The reason for our conversation is terrible. I met and spoke twice to your brother-in-law, Stephen, when you were in captivity. And we discussed then, he and I, how you didn't know, but we did, that you had lost your lovely wife and beautiful daughters in all of this. So the first thing I want to say to you is I'm so sorry for that loss, because I spoke to Stephen at length about it, and he was really fighting for you, as I'm sure you know, and he painted a picture of you as a person, you as a man, you as a leader of a family, and it was very clear that he and the others in your family were going to do everything they could to get you out. So it's, you're a very loved man, and they got you out. But can I begin with that moment when you realized or were told that Leanne and the girls were not going to be part of that happy celebration when you got out?
It was the day of my release, February 8th, 25. The Red Cross just passed me, I was passed from Hamas to the Red Cross, and Red Cross after 15 minutes, transfer me to the IDF on the border. And this social worker, Leah, approached me and said, Osnat, that my sister and your mom is waiting for you at the Re'im base. And I said to her, please bring me Leanne and the girls. And she said, your mother and your sister will tell you everything. And of course, you don't need to tell anything anymore.
Yeah.
It's obviously that the worst scenario happened. It was, I didn't really want to believe, but it was, I didn't want to believe there's any chance for this scenario, but I knew it is deep down in me. So, yes, I cried for 5 minutes. And then I knew when I'm getting the strength from, and it was from my family. So I said to her, okay, let's meet Osnat and my mom. And after that, we met Sharon, my brother, and Hila, my sister, my youngest sister. And since then, they are with me and give me a lot of strength.
And I'm sure in those moments, having read some of your book, Eli, you kind of fantasized about that moment of release, didn't you? Kept it as a point of hope. Very mixed feelings in the end for you, I imagine, when it came.
Yeah, the chance that I'm going to see Leanne, my wife, and Noya and Dehel, my daughters, again, as I promised them the moment they grabbed me from my house, and so I said to them, I just shouted them, I'll come back, and this promise made me, that I need to make it happen for my girls. So thanks to God that nobody said to me, in captivity, that they are being murdered on October 7, because that was the main reason I was survived for.
You describe in the book the period between Israel and Gaza being taken. Could you, for our listeners who haven't had a chance yet to read your book, just describe what that was like and what was going through your mind as you were taken into Gaza, and what happened in those early moments when you got there?
They pushed me into one of the stolen cars from the kibbutz, in the back of the car, and after 200 meters, they put someone on top of me, and I didn't know who's that, but in the end, I understood it's a worker, a foreign worker from Thailand that work in our fields. And yes, the moment the car moved, I start to count the minutes from the kibbutz because I want to understand where am I in Gaza. Be'eri is a front of the central of Gaza. So I want to understand where am I, if I'm taking up north or to the south. And because of the short drive from Be'eri into Gaza, something like 20 minutes, half an hour of slow drive, I understood I'm still in the center of Gaza.
And it became very intense very quickly, didn't it, once you were in Gaza, once other people realized that Israeli hostages had been brought in?
Yes, the first stop was in a mosque, and a mob of civilians was around there and waiting for the cars. And when the Hamas terrorists took me out from the car, they took me away from them. This mob of civilians start to lynch me with their bare hands, with their shoes. Kids, I could listen for kids that above me, on top of me, and hit me with their shoes. Fortunately, the Hamas terrorists succeeded to take me into the mosque and undressed me there and start to investigate me. I know Arabic a little bit, so I answered the questions. And from there, another 3 or 4 stops, changing cars, changing people that hold me. And at the end, we arrived to a Palestinian family house that the father was from Hamas, regular family. The father was about 60 years old, used to work in Israel in the past. And we had 3 boys that we knew them these 52 days we've been in this house.
What did you think when you found yourself in a family home?
I was happy I'm not in a tunnel, not in,
Not yet.
in the dark.
Yeah.
Yes. So 52 days, a part of the first 3 days that we were chained with ropes that tore our flesh, our skin, a part of that we ate good. We behaved respectfully from the terrorists. So it was okay, especially because of the Thai worker, the Kon from Thailand. They said to him, "You're not involved in this conflict and all this, and in the minute it will be a ceasefire, we'll release you." Most of the time it was okay in these 52 days, but after that, 440 days in the tunnels was something else.
And I've read some of your description of life in the tunnels, which I'll get onto in a second. I mean, truly awful. Just before I do that, though, you mentioned when you were first taken into that mosque that Hamas were asking you questions. They ordered you and the Thai hostage to strip, and then they asked you questions. What kind of questions were they asking you?
Oh, your name, your age, and they immediately think every Israeli is from the army. There's nothing like that, civilians for them. They insist, despite my age, 51 years old, I told them, they said to me, I'm from the army and I'm from the MI5 and all these things. They hit me a little bit, but that's it. It was something like 5 to 10 minutes we've been in this mosque, and then we moved to other places until we arrived to this house.
And when you did end up going down to the tunnels, your description in the book, as I was reading it, I was feeling a bit claustrophobic in my chest as I was reading it, because you say it's a good 100 or so feet down. It gets darker and darker and darker. The terrorists themselves have like a torchlight for themselves as much as anything else. Then you find there is some stronger light further into the tunnel where you're told to sit. And who was with you at that time? Other hostages, who was with you?
At this moment, it was Almog Sarusi, that arrived to the house a day before from other house. So I met him 24 hours earlier. A great guy that unfortunately was murdered a few months later in other tunnel with Hirsch Goldberg, with Ori Danino, with Carmel Gat, and another two Israeli hostages.
And you met Hirsch Goldberg, didn't you? The young man whose mother and father.
Yes. At the same day we arrived to the tunnel, it was November 27th, 2023. It was me and Almog first, and 5 minutes later it was Ori Danino and Hirsch Goldberg. Hirsch Goldberg arrived without one of his hand because it was explosion bomb in his hand on October 7. And they introduced themselves, great guys. They all arrived, they all been kidnapped from the Nova Festival. And after 5 minutes after them, Elia Cohen, Or Levy, and Alon Noel arrived as well. And suddenly we've been 7 Israeli hostages together. Almog, Hirsch, and Ori was injured from October 7th. So 3 days later, after we met them, they woke them up and said to them, "You are going home." And we were sure they are already home for 14 months. And we find out about them being murdered only 3 or 4 days before my release.
Because they presumably they were taken from your tunnel to another tunnel, presumably.
To another tunnel, yes. I don't know what happened, and they didn't arrive home.
Yeah.
But they were convinced they are going home. They said, "See you later in Israel." Nobody saw that we are going to be another 440 days there in tunnels. And we were very jealous about them, that they are going and we are not. And
I guess
you have to be to be aware that to be careful what you wish for sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And when you have no power, you don't know what's going on, really, do you? Is the truth of it. Once they went out of that door, you didn't know what was happening. In moments like that, and I'm sure there were many other moments where you had to do this, how did you get a grip on mental strength and a bit of hope, I guess?
Well, hope and faith, they're not arrived easily. You need to work on that.
Yeah.
And you need to convince yourself. You need to believe every day that that one day you will be released. It's not easy. So when you understand it's not something you need to wait all the time, you need to work on that. You need to have a routine, and that the time will pass, and you have to do things that working on your mind to make it all this strength. So it was one day I've seen that these 3 young Israeli hostages with me start to break and cry and all this. So I said to them, "You know what? From now on, we are going to, in every end of the day, in the evening, we are going to say at least one thing that it was good in that day that happened to us." And they look at me like I'm a lunatic, and I said to me, "What you're talking about? You are 50 meters underground in hell. What can ever happen good here?" And I said to them, "I'm sure you're going to find something." And it was very hard in the beginning to do it with them. But I think 2 or 3 weeks later, each one of them start to find 4 and 5 things that good happen, that happened to him in the same day. And it's like a muscle that you work on it.
Yes, yeah.
And you have to stay positive and optimistic about the future.
Well, what you're describing there to me, Eli, is what Stephen, your brother-in-law, described to me of your character when he was telling me about you being a leader, a man with a sense of direction, strength. And that clearly, I mean, that's an example of it that you've given us there on behalf of yourself and other people. But you describe in the book as well just how the conditions were awful. You were physically filthy a lot of the time, didn't have enough food. I mean, we saw you come out in February and you were so thin, and it was clear that you were very underfed. And the business of one's body in those circumstances, because your mind is clearly strong, but as you say, you have to work on keeping it strong. Hard to keep your body strong in those circumstances, almost impossible.
And almost impossible. It's almost a thing that you don't really have a control on. You eat what you can. You beg for food 24/7. In all this time, you have a zero ego about that. You play their game. You give them compliments when you can. You just play a game just to keep on surviving there. But mostly it's you're working on your mind. That's the most important thing. Yes, but physically, we've been humiliated. We've been, of course, they hit us from time to time, investigate us, searching on us from time to time when we were naked. And mostly starvation was a very, very difficult thing to suffer from. And the hygienic there, it was awful. These worms and rats and cockroaches. It's awful. It's awful. But you said, I always said to the other three guys, I don't care how I come back to my daughters. I promise them I'll come back. With hands or no hands, with the legs or no legs. I don't know how. I'll do whatever I can to come back to them. And that's, and I love life. And you hold it, and you never give up for the chance that the day that they will release you, you'll be alive.
Yeah, and what I would say to you as a daughter of a man I loved very much when he was still with us, you did come back to them. I know they weren't there, but they would want you to have come back, and you have come back. And I've seen this not just in you, Eli, but in lots of the returning hostages. And I don't minimize how difficult this 6-7 months must have been, but I've seen in a lot of you a strong connection to life, no matter what has happened to you. The man who lost his wife and 2 babies, the Bibas family, you, others, people who were never taken hostage but faced horrendous things on that day but survived it. Your connection to life still, and almost an insistence on living, is incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive.
Thank you. As I said, I think all human beings, the normal human beings love life. And they will do everything to come back from, whatever happened to them, to their lovers, and they just want to hug them and be another minute with them, and they will do everything they can to do it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's obvious to come back. For me, it's obvious to believe until the last moment that I will come back. I had no doubt I will be released one day, no doubt. I keep saying that to them, to Alon, Elia, and there's people in Israel that we are going to sleep with them and wake up with them, and we are the subject of their life now, their professional life, and one day they will release us.
And you, just a final thought, if I may, you have written this book, I'm sure, partly for yourself to get your thoughts down and your experiences down, but I know you've been campaigning for the remaining hostages as well, haven't you? That's a central thing for you. Tell me a little bit about why that is.
And since I was released, for me it was to continue the mission that all Israel state and Israelis started. I just joined them, especially when my brother Yossi, his body is still held by Hamas. So we need to bring him back home to bury him, and his family will have a grave to cry on. That's first of all. And second, I'm fighting for Alon, that is a great friend of mine, and I'll do everything that will come back to his family and the other 46 as well. As I always says, on October 7, it wasn't just me that been kidnapped. It was all my family with me. My brothers, my sisters, my mom been kidnapped with me. They stopped their life, start to fight for me. So for now, it's 48 families that been kidnapped, still hostages. Their life is not life. And Israel as a state, at least I think, need to finish this subject with the hostages, bring all back home, finish this war, and then just Israel can start heal from this trauma.